Hello there, and welcome to another edition of 5 Questions in 5 Minutes. And I am honoured to have Sophie Devonshire, CEO of the Marketing Society, with us today. And I say honoured because I've known Sophie a number of years, and I struggled to get her to agree to do this. She constantly suggested other people that she thought would be much better. Well, I beg to differ. Sophie's experience is extraordinary. It's rich and varied. She's worked with multinational companies, Procter & Gamble, Coca-Cola, high-growth startups, agencies, Leo Burnett, Interbrand, I think. She's also a successful entrepreneur. She created her own online business and sold it. She was CEO of the Caffeine Partnership. She was then made CEO of the Marketing Society, as we know. On top of all that, she's written the book Superfast Lead at Speed, which reached #1 in the Amazon charts and was shortlisted for the Business Book of the Year awards. And she also wrote a book with the leadership expert Ben Renshaw, who I also know well. I read in your bio, Sophie, that you are an impatient accelerator. So I'm just going to get on with this. 5 questions, 5 minutes. Here we go. You were an early adopter of remote working, flexi working, if you like. And it seems to me that's become a very, very interesting topic right now, particularly between bosses and staff. And I know that you not only in early companies, got people to work from home, but also from abroad. And I just wonder, and this was all pre-COVID. So I'm just wondering what you learned or if you have views on that subject.
Thank you, Paul. I will give you my views on this subject, and we could talk for hours on this. But even though I didn't particularly jump at doing this session with you, I love the fact we're trying to do it super fast. So I'll get to the point. So I had my own business, which for various reasons I had to move overseas in the middle of the economic crisis, which meant that I rapidly, the whole constraint drives creativity piece, adopted a remote working policy, which I then won lots of awards for, and which was fantastic at the time. And the things I've learned, which were very helpful during COVID, a couple of things. One is you absolutely can get incredible results if you focus on a results-only work environment and you focus on getting the right people who work remotely. You can also recruit incredible people. So I had people based in Dubai, people based in France, people based in London, all desperate to work for my company because it fitted perfectly around their lives. They were able to flex what they were doing. So we've got some incredible talent. But of course, it doesn't always work, as we've also found out. And rituals and relationships matter so much. So building up ways of working that work for everybody, allowing people to work when their energy's at their best and work together in a way that creates energy, and building up those relationships is so, so important. But entirely possible, as I discovered, and a really interesting continued future way of working for lots of people.
A quick follow-up on that, Sophie. Given the kind of, and I might be wrong, but I sense a slight tension in the workplace often now with managers wanting people in more than staff, and it seems to land at 2 or 3 days a week. Do you have any sense from all your interactions with other businesses where you think that might end, or is that just an unknown?
It's a constant topic amongst Marketing Society members, leaders of agencies, leaders inside brand-sided businesses, and it is really complex. I think there are a lot of personal points of view. I think there's lots of test and learning that needs to continue, but I think we're going to continue to see that tension and intergenerational tension that workplaces are going to have to address from a leadership perspective.
Yeah. Next question. I know you're a big user of social media. What are the pros and cons? And I have to say, I'm not. I find the whole thing, I do it under duress. But as somebody who does use it well and often, what would you say the pros and cons, for both professionally and socially, if you like?
Well, thank you for saying that I use it well. I don't know if I do use it wisely, but the reasons I think it's worth exploring are both professional and personal. So from a personal perspective, if you've lived in different places and in different countries, and if you fundamentally like the people you've met along the way, it's a brilliant way to stay connected in a relatively easy way with a big number of people. If you're inherently social, it is also an incredible way to meet people. So both me personally, but also a lot of people I know have met people through Twitter a long time ago, maybe not so much where it is now, but through in other ways, through LinkedIn. LinkedIn, I think, is a particularly brilliant forum for professionals at the moment. It's a great way to learn in a super fast, bite-sized way, and to connect with like-minded, smart-minded people to build up a community. Huge cons, of course. There's a really good video just come out from Julia Roberts, talking about her experiences of being trolled in an interaction with her 15-year-old niece and how awful it is. So it does bring out the worst in people, as well as the best in people. So it needs to be used wisely and smartly. But there's something there in the inevitability of it's a way to connect people, and it will continue to be part of the way in which people communicate, that I think it's important for us to understand the best ways to use it to help our individual, personal and professional goals.
So for you, do you think it's now just become a part of how you communicate with the world?
Yeah, and I think it's interesting to see where it drives creativity as well. So teenage daughters and with what they can do, it's democratized creativity in a really interesting way. And I think in the professional world as well, it's allowed people to connect in really different ways. So I definitely think it will continue to be a tool to keep people connected and a way to share. So understanding how it evolves, and it's evolving at pace. That's the other thing. So keeping abreast of it all, I think, is still really important.
Yeah, I guess from your initial answer, I should conclude that I'm not as social as I think I am. In your book, Lead at Speed, you talk about purposeful leadership. You talk about more than that, but I wondered if you could enlighten us on that particular. Is it possible to explain in a minute what purposeful leadership is about?
So Superfast Lead at Speed was written to address the question of what 21st century business leadership should look like. And it brings out a lot of examples from all kinds of different successful business people in different fields. And pulling out the question of purpose, it's a controversial word at the moment for a lot of people, but purposeful leadership and understanding how organizations can clarify the impact they have, what they stand for and the direction they're going in, and how individuals can do that is incredibly helpful for a lot of people who actually want to play a role in society and in business where they can be as responsive as possible, because we have got to move fast and make things happen and be successful and drive commercial growth in business. But also those people who are interested in leaving a long-term legacy with their brands or with their businesses or with their lives. So not just being responsive, but also being responsible. So understanding what role that is doesn't have to be just about ESG and those other things. It can be as simple as creating a filter and a foundation for your organization, like Premier Inn's mission to give everyone a good night's sleep, and understanding what everybody's purpose is linked to that. So no, I don't think I can explain it in a minute, but there's a lot about Daniel Pink's sense of purpose and drive and how important that is. There's a lot in there about how we can love our work a lot more. So my work with Ben Renshaw, who also wrote about purpose, it's quite helpful in thinking about it all. So I'd love to talk more about it if you gave me more than a minute.
Well, you had a very good stab. You didn't include in your answer, though, anything about energy management, which I know is another big theme in the book. Can I give you another minute to discuss energy management?
Please, because I think this is really important for all of us. The reason I wrote the book super fast is because we're in this rapidly accelerating world. And as Martha Lane Fox said at the Marketing Society's conference last year, today is the slowest day of the rest of your lives. It is going to continue to accelerate, and that's exhausting and overwhelming, and it can be exciting. But it can only be exciting if we, as leaders, as people who want to do well in business, manage our energy as a priority versus managing our time. Key lesson from lots of the leaders I work with, definitely something I've learned. We know how we feel when we've got energy, and understanding what gives us energy and how we give energy to those who work with us is critically important. I mean, Peter Drucker will say it's the prime purpose of any leader is to work out how we energize others. So getting into the science and the physics and the psychological understanding of the role that energy management has to play in your business, in your brand, and in what you do can be absolutely game-changing.
Brilliant. Yeah, no, I love that. And it's slightly off topic, but I'm getting into the Tim Spector, Zoe, all that, and my energy kind of has radically changed just by what I put into my body, which I know is slightly. The Marketing Society, a force for good. Why? I'm assuming it's a force for good. Everything I've ever seen is good, but I wondered if you could elaborate a bit on that.
It's an incredible force for good. It makes me so happy to be working with the community of change makers we've got across the world. It's a 64-year-old organisation which has changed enormously over the years, but there's still such an important role for a community of like-minded, smart-minded leaders in marketing who know that when we come together, when we share ideas and insights, when we support each other, we can help each other do really, really well in our careers. And it's certainly an organisation full of very ambitious people. But as well as helping people do well, we can also help each other do good. And that is in the economy, because marketing is a commercial function and business is something that can make a difference when it's successful. So we want to talk about that. But of course, in society as a whole and inside our organisations. So bringing people together to speed up success with that kind of inspiration, acceleration, and the connections and conversations you make. I see the impact it has every day, and it feels fantastic.
Sophie, thank you for that. I have done an interview which hasn't come out yet for 5 questions in 5 minutes with Stephen Bailey, who worked with Terence Conran, who sort of marketed his own lifestyle, if you like. This is a follow-up to the Marketing Society question. And in that, he sort of describes Terence as somebody who doesn't really officially engage in marketing, but sort of just has it permanently going on. And what that leads me to ask you as a corollary to that previous question, in a sense, I think, is for you in the Marketing Society, where does marketing start and stop? Do you literally have to have a job that says marketing in it, or can you just be in the ether of marketing, if you see what I mean?
So we can get into how different people define what marketing is, but when it comes to the type of people who support the Marketing Society and who are members, it's people who care about marketing's positive impact. They want to elevate it as a profession. They see the value of it as a profession. They see the importance of having great marketing leadership and want to accelerate marketing leadership. So there are people who get involved who've never had marketing in their title, but they understand that marketing fundamentally is business. Yeah. And by supporting something like this, we can raise the standards of excellence everywhere.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. I know you're not in London at the moment. Indeed, you're not living in London. And that's been the case for you many times over the years, I know. What do you miss most about London when you're not here? Or England, if you like, or the UK? What do you miss most about not being home?
So I am in London a lot, and obviously travel a lot with work as well around the world. And it is one of the privileges of the job and of life to see different cities. I absolutely love London. I think it's exciting, interesting. The tea there is the best in the world. The people watching is fascinating. The diversity and conversations that you get there, the clarity and the dry sense of humour cannot be beaten. And just the experiences of being part of a city that's so full of art and theatre and creativity. I think our creative industries are critical. But I also think London is a fantastic place where businesses and society work together very closely and make a huge difference when they do that. So big London file, definitely.
I think London's too big, but that's a separate conversation. Sophie, it's been an absolute honour having you. Thank you for finally agreeing. Great to have you. Thanks.
Such a pleasure. Thanks, Paul.